What to look for when you visit a factory. Hey there, well, I'm in China at the moment. You're gonna have to forgive me for all the noise in this video, but I'm in our studio and things are really busy and I can't say I'm unhappy about that. Anyway, when we first started Shoes of Prey, Michael and I had to go and find suppliers. And it was kind of a challenge for us because not any of the three of us knew how to make a pair of shoes. So when we went to visit these factories, we would look for things that we knew were important, and they were largely ethical things, like making sure there were no youth in the factory working, making sure that everything looked clean, people looked happy, there were uniforms, that it looked like it was a good environment to be a part of and that it was well managed. But as we've grown up a little bit, we've learned a few things to look out for, and they seem to be a part of a code that doesn't get shared and only happens in experience, so I thought I'd share them with you today. We still look for all of these ethical standards in everything that we do. They're really important to us to find those in our suppliers, but we learn about some other things that are also important. So for example, are they telling you the truth about how much they can produce every single day? Also, can they do every step of the process in their factory, or are they in fact outsourcing some of that to somebody else that you don't even know about? There are so many bits and pieces, then great tips and tricks. So I haven't been in this scene for a little while, but Chris McCallum, our COO, and Dave Knapp, our factory manager, are two people who are doing this every single day. So I chatted to them to get some great hints and tips on how to discern this when you visit a factory. Looking for small things as an indicator of bigger things. Small things can include stuff like fire and safety equipment, cleanliness, machinery in good repair, happy staff, uniforms, purpose-built facility, all of these sorts of things that tell you that this is a focused environment. Who's the decision maker in the factory? It's really important to make sure that you're dealing with the decision maker when you go to a factory or a new supplier, because if you're not, it's going to be really hard for you to advance your negotiations, and it's also going to be difficult if you want to change things down the track. So it's not uncommon for somebody to take you to somebody else's factory to host the meeting and then to take your work to their own factory somewhere else. So there are a couple little things that might give this away. Dave advises that you might ask them some direct questions like, is this your factory? And just watch their body language. And on top of that, where's your office? Another really important thing to know is that here in China, when you're dealing with suppliers in a factory, usually the boss or the decision maker sits in the biggest office. So check out, is your guy in the biggest office or is somebody else sitting in there? It's a little bit of a good tip to figure out if that person is actually making the decisions. Assessing quality and avoiding subcontracting. Try and find out what other brands they produce for, and then go and get references from those brands to make sure they really do produce for them. It's pointless looking at the samples on the wall inside the meeting room because often these samples are actually bought from other places and just put there. Instead, assess the quality on the items that are at the end of their production line. A few last tips. Be careful to discern whether the factory is actually busy. So sometimes if you're coming in for a visit, they'll just put everyone to work to make it look like they're a very busy place to be. So some of the ways you can try and find out about this is by turning up unannounced, like I mentioned before, but you can also have a look at things like how much stock is sitting in the warehouse and try and figure out how long it's been there for. Is it covered in dust and all of that sort of thing. Culturally, we've also found that when working in China that people don't like saying no, which comes from the best of intentions, but it can lead to some tricky situations. So for example, you might go to a factory who says yes to an order of yours, but they don't in fact have the capacity to make it. So then what happens is they outsource it without telling you, and you don't know how that product is going to be made, so that's super tricky. A great read on this topic is a book that's called Poorly Made in China. It's amazing. So just on that note, I don't think things are poorly made in China. We make here because we can make great product here. Now, the book though is fantastic because when I read it, I felt like this guy must have followed me around with all these experiences. It's very, very relevant and I highly recommend it as a read. I hope that this video has been helpful for you if you're out there looking for suppliers at the moment. And if you're someone who has gotten suppliers before, share your tips and tricks. I mean, we all need to learn more ways to reveal, our concerns within suppliers as we're trying to find them. So please share them in the comments below. I'd be so grateful. Hope you have a brilliant week. Don't forget to subscribe, and above all, don't forget to do everything before you're ready. Bye.